I will talk about Chapter 5, Retail Metrics Creation and Interpretation. This chapter has two sections. So one is Period Agent Cohort and Metric Development. Before we dig deeper into these sections, let's talk about measures or indicators. As a data scientist, we are interested to measure the performance of business. And these measures that helps to measure the performance of business are called key performance indicators. In a web product, the business lifecycle we are interested in is of users. The first step of business lifecycle for user is acquisition, second is engagement, third is revenue and retention. Now let's dig deeper into period agent cohort. So what we need to understand here is that metrics, all the metrics has a component of time. And metrics, when we are creating metrics, it helps to understand the user population, because we are always trying to measure the user population, trying to estimate something about user population. And demography, which is the study of the population, helps us to know more about user population. In demography, there are three main components: period, age, and cohort. And these three components are interrelated. And these three components and knowing the relationship between these three components helps to understand the users of our web product. These three components related in a sense that in a web product, there is a relationship between time and human events. And understanding these three components helps to understand the relation between time and human events. Okay, now let's dig deeper into what period is. What is period? Period is as it says, is an interval of time. Like example, 1990s, the decade of 1990 is a period, and the first month of the product launch is a period. After product launch is a period. And why is period important? Periods are important because periods have elements in them which are significant. Like for example, 1990s, it was a time of great development in the United States. And for a web product, the beginning of the month is a time when web products have less number of features. Like let's take example of the web product. If we take example of Facebook, the Facebook had really small number of features like address book when it was initially launched. But as time went by, it began to have more and more features such as video calling, social profiles, messages, messengers, etc. etc. So it grew. That's why period is important. Second is age. What is age? It is, as we know, age is a length of time a person has been alive. In terms of example of in a sense of web product is the amount of time the user has been alive inside the web product. Cohort. What is cohort? Cohort is basically a group of people that share the same time frame. Like for example, if a person is born in if the person is born in 1990s, all people who are born in 1990s are of same cohort. If the user joins a web product in day X, all the people who join a product in day X forms a single cohort. Like this diagram. It's a diagram that visualizes these three core components of demography: period, age, and cohort in a single graph. So these three components are so correlated such that if we know two of them, we can easily find the third component. Now let's go to period versus cohort. There are lots of metrics and measures, and these metrics are either cohort metrics or period measures. Cohort measures or period measures, or cohort metrics or period metrics. So let's talk about what are cohort measures. Cohort measures have same base population over period of time. Like for example, let's say let's say a person let's say a person joined a web product in day X, and there are like other 10 people who join the web product in 10x. Then how many people will remain in that cohort over a period of years is an example of cohort measure. Like retention metrics. How many people remain in a product who join on day X throughout time, like how many years as went by, how many remain in product is an example of cohort metrics. Period measure. Period measure is a measure of product within period of time. Within period of time, and it combines all living cohorts. It doesn't segregate the base population based on when they joined a product, but it doesn't segregate, it takes all the people, all the living cohort, and measures. It takes all living cohort and take the measure based upon those user population. Like for example, let's say we want to see how many people average average number of days user stayed in a product from, let's say, 19 January 1991 to January 2021. So this is a period of time, and we want to see, look at all the user population and see how many on average people remain in product, average number of days people remain in product. This is a period measure. These are two types of metrics which are very useful, but they provide different point of view, and they are not usually the same. Code retention. This is a metric. So it is the average number of user days. So the definition of this is average number of days when average number of days the users have been in a product for all the users. And this is calculated by sum of the all user days for a given cohort Y and divided by number of users in given cohort Y. And next, let's discuss about PG retention. This is the definition of this is total number of days the user has spent in the product divided by total number of users. It's a definition of PG retention. And even though they both will deal with retention, they will be usually different, and they have different. They are looking from different angles. User cohort versus period measure. So, pros and cons of cohort measure. Pros. They measure same population over a period of time. It helps measure change of an indicator over a period of time and is easy to understand. Cons. Cohort measure is really truncated, can be truncated sometime if the cohort is too young. And cohort can be different based on can be even more segregated based upon user segmentation, like for example age, race, etc. Second is period measure. The pros is it is most commonly used measure. It is useful when cohort is even in size, and it is useful when data is sparse. Cons. The cohort the period measure can be confusing when many different kind of cohorts are aggregated. Secondly, it can be biased toward earlier cohort where, like let's take example of code takes example of retention. It can be biased toward earlier cohort which have less number of retention. Even though the retention is increasing with later cohorts, it can be biased toward earlier cohort because there are more of them. Now lastly, at not least, standardization. Demographers call reweighing the different cohort sizes based upon their some characteristics as age, demographic characteristics such as age or race called standardization. Standardization is really useful and it's not difficult to implement. So I just talked about metrics and why why they are important.